Okay, Mayor. I have everything live. Sorry for the delay there. I'll go ahead and share the agenda. You're on mute, Mayor.
Okay.
All right.
All right. This will be the Frostburg, Maryland work session for December 2020. Roll call when you're ready, Elizabeth.
Sure. Commissioner Forsythe is not on yet. I do not believe. She's not. So we'll go Commissioner Donnie Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Nina Forsythe is not here yet, but I expect her to join. Commissioner Kevin Grove.
Here.
Commissioner Adam Ritchey.
Here.
And Mayor Robert Flanagan.
I'm here, Liz. Thank you.
Okay.
Start with council meeting topics. The first one, Chris has some information on the pumping station on Centennial Hill.
Chris, we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, Chris.
All right, sorry about that. Yes, in 1960, Allegheny County built the Centennial Hill pumping station. We inherited it when we annexed Centennial Hill in probably 20 years ago. And at that point in time, the pump station was already reached its useful life. And it's not at state of the art, but more than that, it's kind of dangerous to today's standards of entering pump stations and doing work. But lately we've had some failures, and it really needs replaced. I don't think we can band-aid it anymore. It's just good. The costs are going to keep going up and up and up. And we've investigated with a preliminary engineering study, and now we have a proposal to do the design. The design is a very good proposal, I believe. We've been working on it for a couple months. We already have the site survey completed, and initially the design was going to be about $40,000, but because we've negotiated with an engineering company that was recommended to us called the Eads Group. They do a lot of work before. They have done it for the county. They do most of all of LaVale's work, and we have the proposal down to $22,000. I would really like to get this rolling. I think it's probably the most important thing out there in front of us in terms of major infrastructure that needs replaced. And I've been working with Elizabeth, and I know that she has some things she's working on. We may get some small grants to help us with it along the way. But if there's any questions about it, or if Adam would like to look further into it, I know I've had him up to the site and talked to him about it already. But now we have a proposal. We had 4 alternatives to look at, and both Shane and Tony and myself and some other people that review this think that alternative 3 is the one we should go with. And I'd like to explain in detail anybody that's interested in what we want to do and take them on a site visit. So I think that pretty much does the most of the introduction here. Elizabeth, do you have anything to add to it?
Sure. One of the reasons I've asked Chris to move quickly with this project, it wasn't budgeted for in this fiscal year budget. But when we got the $500,000 additional state grant for the municipal center, that freed up several $100,000 of city funds for other capital projects that have an investment of 30 years or more. The new building is also going to have vertical blinds that don't have holes in them with lights down my face. It's making me crazy. But anyway.
You stuck that one in real good, Liz.
So I kind of had been talking to staff about capital budget priorities of projects that need to be done in the range of $100,000 to $200,000, and probably wouldn't have other large state grant sources from like MDE or a CDBG type project. So this pump station really rose to the top. It's a pretty big safety concern. Right now when the pumps fail, the guys actually have to go down into the sump. So the design Chris is proposing, the sumps would still be submerged, but they would be on rails, or I forget the term, but you'd be able to pull them up. So the likelihood of anyone actually having to go down into a 15-foot deep manhole is virtually eliminated, which is important. But these pumps, we patched them together, as Chris said, to get us through. But really, it does need an upgrade. So thinking that we'll have the money to construct this with the leftover CDA dollars was motivation number one for Chris to start looking at it. In addition, Maryland Smart Energy Communities grant round came out, and in talking with them, they encouraged us to apply for the efficiency and sustainability elements. So Chris, in the preliminary engineering stage, EADS was able to provide them the information needed for a grant application. And I'm thinking we might be eligible to get up to about $30,000 towards the actual construction of the project from MSEC because of the efficiencies. And there's a solar backup component that MSEC would fund a portion of. So again, not a budgeted expense, but because I think things are lining up that we'll be able to move with construction fairly quickly, we obviously have to get design done first. So if this is acceptable to you, we would do this as a resolution at council meeting.
Adam, you have anything?
Yeah, I'm behind it. It's just, it's a real safety hazard for our employees. I mean, for them to go down in there, it's just a matter of time before somebody gets hurt. And, it's just so outdated. And like they said, we've just been patching this thing together, probably needed replaced 20 years ago, but now's the time. So if we can get it done, I support it fully.
Okay, very good. All right.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea. Just these major infrastructure things, I'm behind. If we can get it done now, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we got the money at a good price, so we should use it for these important projects.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. We're all good.
Okay, thanks for thank you, and thanks for your work on that, Chris.
You're welcome.
Next, there's staggered terms on the Recreation Commission, and 3 terms are expiring. Mark Roque, Dottie Turner, and Sean White. Brian Vogt reached out to them, and they did express interest in serving another 2-year term and has asked for them to be reappointed. As with all your boards and commissions, you're more than welcome to appoint others, but that is the recommendation from your director.
Well, they've been doing good work on the commission, so I would be behind their re-upping.
Okay. There's no questions. That'll be a resolution next week as well.
Personnel manual amendments.
Yeah, last year, 2 years ago, it was discovered that there was a mistake or omission in the current personnel manual that did not include administrative days. That was always in the city's what the city actually did. Somehow it got admitted in the most recent version of the personnel manual. So this resolution definitely still needs cleaned up, but last year you passed a similar resolution in which employees as of January 1, if they had a year of service, they'd get 8 hours of admin time, and if they had 2 full years of service or more, they'd get 3 days of admin time. Unfortunately, the way I wrote the resolution last year was only good for this current calendar year. A year ago, I thought I'd have a personnel manual new revision done for you by this point in time, that this would be addressed. But like everyone else's life, it's been derailed this year, and I did not get to the personnel manual. I do want that rewrite to be involve a lot of our employee input and a collaborative process, and not being able to meet in person this year also just hindered me from being able to make progress on that, among other things. So this resolution will be rewritten. The stars align. The new personnel manual will get written next year, but I just wrote this that it just amends the personnel manual to include admin days from now until we get a new personnel manual. So everyone, I hope, sorry for rambling there, but is there any concerns with that?
No, I think what you just said was very, very important. I think it behooves us to speak to our folks before we finalize something, because sometimes another set of eyes see something that we don't. And so I think that's a good reason to put it on hold, Liz.
Yeah. Early this year, when I started working on the personnel manual or looking at it, the one personnel manual that I found that I really liked because of just how it addressed things, what it addressed, just really seemed to align with what we were looking for, but it was also very easy to read and understand, was the city of Salisbury. And I reached out to their HR director, and they have they have like an employee team that sits down and reviews it regularly. It is a collaborative process. So not only do I hope to model their policy, but their process as well.
Sure. Okay. Very good. Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Change order.
I do not have a change order number 15 in front of me yet, but I hope to have that before council meeting next week. That would be, I mentioned it last month, to repoint the brick on the exterior and a few areas on the interior wall where the old exterior is now interior and it's exposed brick. There's about an 18-inch section, a couple feet from the ground, the whole length of the north side of the building, that there's just very little mortar left, and it became very obvious after construction began and things started to get cleaned up and worked on. So we will need to get that repointed. Last month, I brought back to you a change order for the key card access, and you approved it, and our architect did not approve it because he was not happy with the strikes on the doors were not heavy duty enough for what he wanted to see. So now I'm asking you to approve another revised change order regarding the key card access, and the total cost would be $16,592, so long as the architect approves this. But I did just get this the other day with that upgraded strike on the doors. But I did also just want to do an update on the building. This is kind of messy, but it kind of provides a financial picture of where we are at with the building. Not including the key card or the $88 change order regarding that pathway to the sidewalk that was approved last month. The total change orders that have been approved net $155,334, which brings the total contract sum to $3,048,392. And then you did also approve the furniture contract for $140,000. But our bond proceeds are 2.8 million. We have 2 state bond bills in the amount of 200,000, and then we did have the $500,000 state grant. So we're still looking pretty good in terms of additional CDA money that will be able to be spent at the end of the project. There's some other purchases that are being made outside of the general contract, like the city seals and that will go in the meeting room and things like that. Little like the interior artwork, those expenses and stuff. But I think we're in pretty good shape. So I just wanted to put that out there for you. And then in terms of timeline, the furniture delivery right now is scheduled for the last week of February. There's a lot of, the original completion date in the contract was December 31st. And then with the asbestos mitigation, that pushed it to January 31st. Mike at Daystar, the general contractor, was still in earnest working toward the December 31st deadline. But we meet on a bi-weekly basis, and it's apparent that COVID has affected a lot of different elements of this project, whether initially was getting the supplies to now certain construction crews shutting down temporarily when one person has COVID and they need to get everyone else tested before they return to work. So we just went with a more conservative date and scheduled that furniture delivery for the end of February, which means city offices would be moving in the month of March.
Are we going to commission any local artists to provide some of the artwork?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. Right now, when I say artwork, it's nothing exciting. It's well, there's one thing that's nice, but we spent some money. The former mayor's pictures that were in the hallway here at City Hall, a few needed to get reframed, and then just like the city seals and the ceremonial room names and things like that. So I haven't worked on any real art in earnest yet. So I'd be happy to talk offline about brainstorm some ideas on how to do that and do it at a reasonable cost. So
maybe work with the Maryland Arts Council, or I don't know if they have a provision for something like that.
Yeah. It'd certainly be nice and appropriate for the new building.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Any
thank you,
other
Les.
questions on the building?
Okay. All right. Let's talk garbage.
Okay. At the council meeting every December, Commissioner Ritchey has the pleasure of announcing a special regular garbage and special collection, any changes or special collections for the following year. So here that is in its draft form. I don't know if the commissioner wants to make any.
Well, I think, Liz, did you put the changes in here that we discussed?
I did.
Okay, so bulk pickup will be the week before Memorial Day this year. And then we're also going to have trash pickup on Thanksgiving Day. Just a few employees come in and volunteer, come in and do a trash pickup on Thursday. So that's two big changes.
with the day after Thanksgiving also being a holiday, it pushes garbage collection till Monday, and a lot of people just out of habit put it out on Thanksgiving, and a lot of garbage sitting out this year. And for working on Thanksgiving, they will get holiday pay, which is hopefully a nice incentive to volunteer to come out to work a few hours. But they will miss that parade.
My. Well, usually, Adam, you don't have to run the truck anywhere. I mean, they can do pick up and probably be back back to shop before lunchtime.
Right, right. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It's not going to be, it won't be a full day. So I think everybody will be home in time to eat dinner with their family and and pick up a few extra dollars that day. So I'm sure that
they'll get some volunteers.
I don't think we're gonna have a problem with it.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Good move. Okay. Move down discussion items. Nina, your microgrid opportunity.
Okay, I'm muted. We were approached by Michael Wright, who has met with us before. He's from Optimize Renewables. He's been working with FSU as well, and he got them a grant to do some, I think it's like to study the feasibility of a microgrid. It's part of the Maryland Resiliency grant project, grant program. And he offered us, the same thing, that he would apply, if we're agreeable, he would apply for a grant to research a microgrid for us. So that what it would be, would it be like backup in case of emergency, so that we could keep running all the essential things, like the police station and City Hall, the pump station, the things that, we really need to keep going, even in a multi-day emergency. So the grant would cover the study, and then it'd be up to us what we do with it afterwards. So I don't think it requires a what's the thing? We didn't have to do any kind of my words are failing me today. Tell me, Elizabeth.
So at this point in time, when Commissioner Forsythe and I met with Michael, they would like to start on the grant application now, if you're interested in that. I'm not
I think
sure
it's
if
due in mid-January.
it's due January 29th. So if we did need a resolution, we would have the January meeting to do a formal support resolution. But the way it would work is the city would be the applicant, but Optimize Renewables would be the one doing the work on the grant application, and then the grant funds awarded to us would just pay for the study. Based on our conversation with Michael, it would not only look at the battery system needed to provide this the backup or the microgrid, but it would also investigate the renewable energy that feeds that battery system. And then, if that whole project or part of that project is something that you would like to move forward with, once their study's done, they'd be able to help us with looking to find grant funding for the city as well. I think Commissioner Forsythe is looking for your concurrence to move forward with this grant opportunity to just study.
What's the ratio on this grant? Is it 100%, or do we have?
Yeah.
Do we have it is.
Yeah, we just cover the whole study.
Okay.
And that's all it is. This particular grant is just to study it. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm okay with it. You know, if it's nothing out of, you know, our pocket, so to speak.
Mhm. Everybody else okay?
Yeah, we'll just get back to him then and say, we're on board.
Okay,
Work session.
All right. Elaine and Elizabeth on budget review year to date.
Good afternoon. Don't want to get into too many of the details of the budget, but just wanted to hit some highlights at this point. And when we developed our budget back in the spring, COVID was very new and it was in its early stages, and the financial impact on the city was very uncertain. The city, as you are well aware, has a separate operating budget for the corporate fund, which covers the general government operations. And then for the utility funds, they each have their own budgets so that their operating expenses have to be covered from specific operating revenues of the utilities. So when we developed the budget for the corporate fund back in the spring, because of COVID, we took the conservative approach to draw down our revenue estimates from some key revenue sources for the city, which are income tax revenue, highway user tax, hotel motel tax revenue. So now that we're about 9 months into the pandemic and 5 months into our current fiscal year, things are still rather uncertain, but we wanted to kind of give you an update on some of those key revenue sources and what we're seeing at this point in the year. So the income tax revenue at this point, we're about $58,000 higher than at the same time last year. There's a lot of variation in the income tax payments that the city receives because it's based on income tax returns that individuals file with the state. So as those returns get filed and the portion that's attributable to the city comes in, so even though the revenue is higher than it is this point last year, we still have to realize that there could still be fluctuation the rest of the year, but we're at a good point right now. So we're glad to see that increase. As we predicted for hotel motel tax revenue, these revenues are way down compared to the prior year. Now at this point, as of November, we only received payment from Allegheny County for 1 month. So that was just the July revenue. I did communicate with the county and they will be remitting to us for August through October. But even when we get those receipts, the revenue is down about 42% compared to the prior year. And this is revenue that we try and pass along to the community right now. A lot of that is budgeted only to Frostburg first, but our revenue estimate at this point seems still cautiously optimistic, even though it's much less than last year. Highway use tax is the other area where we significantly pulled down our revenue estimate from the prior fiscal year. At this point, we're down about $7,000 less than at the same time last year, but we're at a consistent percentage budget-wise where we would expect to be. So we'll see how long people stay home and how much they're out on the roads. But we are a little bit less than last year. The main source of revenue, of course, in the corporate fund is our real estate taxes. And you will note that at this point, when you see that revenue number for year to date, that is based on our billings. Okay. So our billings this year are about $135,000 higher than our real estate billings last year. So that's tied to two factors. That's tied to a slight increase in assessments, and it's also tied to our 2-cent increase in the real estate tax rate. But again, this is billings. This is not cash in the door. So when you look at the receivable side of things, our receivables for taxes right now are about $100,000 higher than the same point last year. So our billings have met our revenue estimates for the budget, but we still need to pursue collections. There was not a tax sale last year, and the tax sale is generally an opportunity where we're able to collect past due taxes on properties when they have 3 years of taxes outstanding. So if the county does proceed with the tax sale this year, that will help with some of our delinquent real estate taxes. So the city has incurred additional expenses related to COVID this year, but we're fortunate that many of these expenses are going to be reimbursed through CARES Act funding that was passed through Allegheny County and then comes to the city. So we're appreciative for those resources to help meet those needs. From the budget perspective for the utility funds, our budget estimates were based on slight rate increases for water, sewer, and garbage. And we based our estimates on having consistent consumption for water and sewer from last year to this year. So as of the end of November, our billed revenues in the water fund and sewer are very consistent with our estimates. But similar to taxes, billings don't represent collections. It doesn't necessarily mean the cash is coming in the door. The governor's executive order that prohibited service terminations for non-payment from March through September allowed many accounts to become delinquent, and the city had no recourse for collections during that time. So when that executive order expired, the city did issue one round of shut-off notices in October, but we were trying to be sensitive to customer concerns who were impacted by COVID. And we only required customers to bring their accounts up to date for billings that were issued prior to July 1. We offered 4-month payment plans to customers, and we did have a limited number of customers who took advantage of those payment plans. But unfortunately, we did have customers who did not make the minimum payments. They did not request to shut off a payment plan, and they did have their service terminated. But it was a limited number of people. So we were fortunate of that. There are community resources available to assist the customers who have been negatively impacted by COVID with their utility bills. And I just really encourage customers to reach out and take advantage of those community resources, not just with water and sewer bills, but with their other utility bills. And if they have any questions about that, we can pass along the contact information for that assistance. But the long and the short is that we still have a lot of customers with delinquent balances. We'll continue to pursue collection and work with them to bring their accounts up to date. But at least on the billing side, I do feel comfortable that our estimates and our budget are on track. We did have some unbudgeted expenses in the utility funds that I want to make note of. In the water fund, there was an emergency repair on the 16-inch line in August. You'll see that expense in the distribution side of the water fund under transmission main expense. You'll see that was over budget, and that was the cause of that expense. In the sewer fund, if you look at pumping station maintenance, as Chris has already described, the issues that we have with the pumping station, this will be in Fund 3. And there was a significant expense to repair the motors in the pump station. Again, that was just a temporary fix, but a necessary emergency repair. So we'll continue to analyze the budget as we do on an ongoing basis. We'll share this analysis with the mayor and council. We share it with department supervisors on a monthly basis, and we certainly strive to make this information available to the public. But just kind of wanted to hit some highlights for you. I know you receive this information on a regular basis, but at least to give you some highlights at this point.
Thank you, Elaine.
You're welcome.
The one item that we do need to discuss today is the salary increases for your personnel. This time last year and early this year, I was working in consultation with the various commissioners on doing kind of a formula-based salary calculation that solved some inequities amongst people within the same department and made things more fair across departments. And for a full year, the total cost of those, every city employee would get an increase. Some would obviously just be more than others. And it factored in the position as well as years of service. So the initial cost for a full year was $110,000 across not only the corporate fund, but all of the utility funds as well. But it was instead budgeted for $55,000, half of that, for those increases to begin January 1. We've had some personnel change since then, and there's probably a little tweaking that needs to be done to that final chart, but it's estimated that that total net cost would remain at $55,000. And that was budgeted, but I just wanted to get your confirmation that you're okay moving forward with that. The reason I want to bring it to up for discussion is this current fiscal year budget does have us using almost $400,000 in our reserves to balance the budget. There's still a lot of uncertainty as to what the next 6 months bring. But at the same time, I feel like we need to get on the path of, adjusting some of these salaries and continuing to boost our employees to get to the minimum wage requirement in a few years. And by doing this now, would just take care of some of the issues now, and then come March and April, when you're budgeting for next year, maybe next year is the year that other increases aren't planned, but I'd like to at least recommend that we move forward with the salary increases this year. Obviously, that's your decision, but I just did want to offer that recommendation to just move forward as budgeted. And if so, those pay raises would go into effect on the first pay period of the new year, which begins January 4.
Anybody have anything?
I agree with Elizabeth.
Yeah, I agree with Liz.
All
Yeah,
good?
yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty confident that Lane and Liz have spent their due diligence on this. We've talked about it on more than one occasion, and I concur with their opinions.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Anything else?
Yep, let me
Okay, sure.
bring that back. I have this under discussion item, but it could be moved to this month's council meeting. I wasn't sure if I'd have all the information ready for council meeting, but I do. So Maryland Environmental Service is who we contract with to operate our water treatment plant, but they also operate and maintain our raw water dam, the hydroelectric plant, the pumps on top of Piney Mountain, or not Piney Mountain, the pumps on top of Big Savage Mountain, and our Savage Springs and Wells. So from my perspective, there's huge advantage of using MES. They're an agency that is part of the state of Maryland's government. And so they have a lot of scientific and engineering expertise when it comes to providing world-class water to our residents. And just knowing that they're taking care of making sure everything is being done with our water as it should be is just a lot of peace of mind to the city. Our plant is going on 25 years old, And Chris and I had a meeting there yesterday, and other than some equipment, equipment aging and needing to be replaced as to be expected, they've done an excellent job just taking care of the facility and maintaining the facility, which again just reinforces my pleasure, my satisfaction with this contract. So they propose a 5-year new budget, and I can go over that with you a little bit here. This year's budgeted amount for the 2021 fiscal year was $509,600. So for next year, that amount grows just very slightly to $511,000. The following year, it does grow to $563,000. And the reason for that is, and Chris can help me with technicals if you have questions, but there needs to be a carbon exchange done at the plant, which costs a little more than $40,000. And they would replace 2 of the 4 carbon beds at that time. The following year, it only increases slightly. And then it does increase about $20,000 the next year, and the same the following year. So most of those other costs, some of the chemicals that we use are proprietary chemicals, and they're budgeting the just natural escalation of these different products. Their price just continues to go up. We just talked a lot about substitutions in terms of different products, and they've done a lot of work and have found the products that work the best for us. And even though they cost maybe a little more, they end up using less, which costs us less money in the long run. The other item that just is involved in those costs, other than the natural escalations, is there's 2 employees there now that are completing their certification process. And as they move through the certification process to become a plant operator, there's set pay bumps. But Mark was actually really pleased with that, because he says that because you'll notice that the labor costs go up a good bit over the 5-year period, but they've also factored in contracting out a lot of repairs. They've decreased that amount over the same period because they are feeling very confident in these 2 young people that work at our plant right now that are moving forward and gaining skills in terms of being able to make electrical and plumbing repairs. So we can take another month and evaluate this and get any questions answered, or this could be, if you don't have any concerns, this could be on the agenda for next week. Commissioner Forsythe, I did, speaking of the solar and discussions, we talked about that, and they felt confident that we could, if we needed to put their electric bill in the city's name or work out some other agreement, we'd be able to certainly handle that through a budget amendment later on between us and MES.
That's good to know. I also I've met with Mark several times and toured the plant and everything, and a number of times, and I really get the sense that they are really responsible in running the plant. They're not extravagant. They're not, just like taking the easy way. They just the way Mark is. He just loves to find the best and cheapest way to do something, just the sweet spot there. And the other thing about contracting with MES is economies of scale, because they can buy, huge amounts of chemicals at a much lower per unit cost, so that we get the best price at our particular plant.
Absolutely.
That's a really good advantage.
What else? Okay, I think we're good, Liz.
That on as a resolution for next week.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Will do. Thank you.
Okay. Man of the hour here.
I was told that only 4 people are allowed to his party. He doesn't want a big party, so no more than 4 people. So I don't know who's going to be on that invite list, but
Very exclusive.
Well, him being my roommate all the time, I get to go.
So Chris does plan on retiring in the spring. He hasn't set a date yet, but on this little calendar, I picked a date of either April 23rd or April 30th for him. So hopefully he's agreeable to that. But I just wanted to go over this because it is going to be a process, and as part of hiring a department director, the mayor does need to appoint a group of at least 3 to do the interviews. I think naturally, because the director of public works reports to both the commissioner of water parks and rec and the commissioner of public works, both of those commissioners would serve on the committee. And then whether or not you may or want to serve or would like to appoint someone else, and then I would serve as well. I'm working on a advertisement, and I'm for the position and describing the job duties, and I hope to have that done early next week that I can share with the 2 commissioners for their review, so that we can get it advertised no later than December 29th. Application, we would advertise that on the Maryland Municipal League website. We would advertise it on the Chris's Public Works sites. That's a national organization. We can do that either regionally or nationally. And I should be able to advertise on the International City County Managers site as well. And of course, it would be in the Cumberland Times News and on their online format and our website. So that would give 1 month at least for applications to come in. I'd like to start interviews somewhere do interviews either the week of February 8th or through the week of the 15th. Hold that last week of February for second interviews if needed. Give notice of appointment and come to an agreement with a candidate no later than Friday, March 5th, and have their start date be no later than, or hopefully around March 29th. If they did start March 29th and Chris retired on the 23rd of April, that would give them 4 weeks of overlap with Chris to try and get absorb hopefully a fraction of his institutional knowledge that he has.
Now you're talking about 21 to 22, right?
Huh?
I said, it's going to take more than 4 weeks to
Oh,
absorb all that. I was going to say, are we going to go a year on this or what?
well, I don't think that's part of Chris's plan or Elaine's budget. So,
okay. Just throwing that out there.
Nina, you're on mute. I do think Chris doesn't plan on moving to the islands or anything right away. So he's indicated to me that he'd be willing to be around and offer some history lessons as needed. So I guess the important thing to discuss as well is and I've talked with the commissioners about this one-on-one at various points. And I actually saw a lot of similarities when looking at other job advertisements for communities our size, but the engineering degree would be an optional requirement. So that would allow us to open it up to people that have many years of field experience that could also be a very good candidate for the position. So, and Chris has recommended that as well. So kind of working on crafting that language.
Donnie, Kevin, do either of you want to serve? I mean, I'm happy to do it unless one of you guys feel strongly about it.
I'm happy if you want to do it, Mayor, but if you need somebody.
No, I mean, I'm happy to do it. I just wanted to make sure you guys are okay with it. Donnie, you all right?
Donnie's not there.
Donnie's not there. Okay. We'll talk to Donnie later. I'm volunteering if Donnie's not available.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Now, the surprise of the day is solid waste management.
Yeah, so in terms of the Solid Waste Management Board, that is a county board, but there's always a representative from the city of Frostburg. And the way that works is the city mayor and council makes a recommendation to the county commissioners as to who that appointment should be. David DeWitt served in that position this last term and has resigned. And I reached out to Sierra Wigfield, who is the staff to the Solid Waste Management Board. And she did suggest that you would consider Mr. John Kirby for the appointment to the Solid Waste Management Board. And I talked to John, and to my surprise, he was excited about that. The Solid Waste Management Board is going to face some challenging years ahead. And John has a lot of expertise and time in navigating some of these difficult issues that have faced local government over the years. John spent 20 years at the county before he came to the city. So with your concurrence, I'd let Sierra know that you're recommending John, or unless you have someone else that you'd like to recommend to that board.
We're going to have to deal with the closing of the landfill.
Yeah, John, I know in our discussions many years ago, John had a lot in that when Mountain View was first established. So I think he's above and beyond probably anyone's expertise at the level to serve on the board. So I'm in full concurrence.
I am also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll let Sierra know.
Okay.
Okay. Just wanted to provide a few updates as COVID continues to really challenge us here in Allegheny County. The first that developed since last council meeting was the testing event between the city and Aeon Technologies. The first event was very successful. We required pre-registration. So when people came in, Brie Lavornia from Aeon Technologies would show them their sheet and ask them if everything was correct. They'd say yes. She gave them a bag. They walked in and got swabbed in the throat, not the nose. So people were pleasantly surprised and could walk out the front door. It really worked well. I was there for the 2 hours. I'd say no one waited more than 15 minutes, if that. And they were able to test 83 people that day. So based on that turnout and the CARES funding we spoke with the county about, we felt confident that we'd be able to offer 2 additional testing events. So they're scheduled for next Wednesday, December
16th.
Thanks, I can't have too many windows. December 16th, and then Wednesday the 30th. So hopefully this will continue to allow our small businesses to get through the holiday season and get tested, whether they need their staff to get tested to reopen or to maybe close or stay closed. Hopefully this will be helpful. Some businesses last week, the whole team came. Other businesses just sent one employee because they might have had a concern. But I know for that one business was able to reopen based on the testing. They got tested on Tuesday. They got their results Wednesday evening. Everyone was negative, so they were able to get back to work on Thursday. So that's something to feel good about. And thank you for doing this for our community.
I saw Fred from Main Street Books, and he expresses thanks again. And they really appreciate the fast results. That matters a lot.
And the tests are being processed right here in Frostburg. So there's
Yeah.
that economic benefit as well.
Right.
Very good.
Okay, so, and then just in terms of the other CARES funding, when the county commissioners originally reached out to the mayor and me at the very beginning of this, after the CARES Act got passed, they asked us to put together a proposed budget of items and expenses that we would use CARES money for. And that total budget was right around $207,000, and the county approved that. A large chunk of that budget was factoring in hazard pay for the remainder of the year. But we stopped hazard pay in May when the governor initiated phase 1 reopening. Everyone came back to work in some form or fashion. Everyone began their regular full-time schedule again, whether from home or in person. So the hazard pay stopped then for the police department. We've used that money to purchase some of the remote meeting technology, this YouTube being embedded into the meeting portal, the camera that when we did have a few in-person events, things like that, we've been able to use CARES Act money for to buy laptops to allow staff to work remotely. We've been able to use CARES Fund to reimburse the city when we've had employees off with COVID or awaiting COVID test results. We pay them up to 80 hours of sick time that doesn't get deducted from their sick leave. And we're able to get reimbursed with that under CARES. And then the police department, when they've had to use overtime to ensure coverage related to COVID absences, we've been able to be reimbursed with that. But per my email to you earlier this week, we did use the balance to provide a bonus to our essential working employees. They will get that tomorrow. It's a surprise, so don't ruin it. But our employees have just gone above and beyond this past year. In talking to, there's just, I like to think that I'm approachable. And when I send out these emails about, how we're going to handle things, updated mask guidance, updated protocol at work, if I get any feedback, it's positive. There's been no concerns about any employees trying to abuse the privileges that we're offering them during this time. Everyone's showing up, doing their job, and it sucks. And it's just, but they're hanging in there, and it's just something really to be proud of. So I'm really pleased that we're able to give them a little bit of money at the end of the year. It has to be spent. The county's approved that spending plan, and just happy that we can just show some appreciation and everyone's been at risk. You know, our police officers are, you know, dealing with people that might be infected. Our street department is touching garbage and working in sewer that we know carries COVID. Our water department has to go out into people's houses time to time to address manners. And then, you know, we're working here at City Hall as safely as we can, but we're trying to stay open so that people can pay through that teller window. So everyone's had risk, and everyone's stepped up to the plate. So just wanted to update that. So I think Elaine will be sending a reimbursement request to the county tomorrow, and then by next week, we'll kind of submit a plan of how we plan to spend the small balance left over by the end of the year.
Good. Very well said, Liz.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and I'm very grateful to the county commissioners and the county administrator, Jason Bennett, that have been so gracious and flexible with the CARES funds. I know a lot of municipalities have not had that relationship with the county and have kind of felt a little stuck. So just that relationship there is also something to be very grateful for. The only other thing that I wanted to touch on under CARES or COVID is the state, sorry, now I'm lost, is the state vaccination plans. The governor did make an announcement on Monday or Tuesday evening, prioritizing frontline healthcare workers, nursing homes, and first responders. I know the chief of police has been working with the health department so that our department is set up to be vaccinated when the vaccines are available to first responders in Allegheny County. I guess some disturbing news that has come to me and the mayor in the last 24 hours is that apparently Allegheny and Garrett County are not slated to get any vaccines in this first round. So I know Congressman Trone's office is advocating for us, as is our county commissioners. I'm sure, I don't know if you want to take action on your own or continue to reach out to the commissioner to see what we can do to help. I usually don't I try not to voice my frustration with things like this. But something that's really bothered me the last month and the seemingly lack of state support for what's going on out here is the percentage of our population that lives in group quarter settings. In 2010, I worked at the county and I was the census coordinator. So I became very familiar with a lot of our census numbers. And because the 2020 census data isn't available yet, I'll just go back to these 2010 census numbers. But the group quarters population, which includes nursing homes, institutionalized or inmates, and college dormitories, as well as other things like juvenile camps, things like that. Statewide, the group quarters population makes up 2.4% of their population. In Allegheny County, it makes up 10.6% of the population. And then you think about all of the people that work at our nursing homes and on our campus and in our prisons. And it probably makes up another 10% when you factor in their families too. And we know, based on what we're seeing in the numbers, that these are some of the most high-risk areas, in addition to the healthcare workers at the hospitals or contracting COVID. So it's just knowing that, how many state employees are at risk. It's just disappointing to hear that news. And I'm sure you all feel the same way. But I just wanted to put a little bit of perspective behind that.
You're right, Liz. I mean, unfortunately, it's sometimes easy to just do a quick overview and don't do much research. And unfortunately, I think that's what kind of happened in Annapolis here of recent, that a longer look wasn't given to those statistics that you just gave us. And that's a shame because it seemed to lump us all into under very bad, nasty light, when in fact, for those folks that have to work, especially in the prisons or in the nursing homes or that's their homes, there's really not much choice for them to escape those surroundings. That's where they are. So yeah, I think your statistical analysis was very well done. I appreciate that.
Do you know if we're not getting in on that first round is because it's the Pfizer vaccine, and that has to be kept at the ultra cold temperatures, and we don't have the facilities?
Oh, actually, we do have facilities from what I've been told, Mia. Back in 2009, FSU assisted with the H1N1, administering the vaccines and whatnot. And they do have on campus storage facilities for those temperature requirements.
I imagine
so
the
again,
hospital probably does too.
I'm sure they do. Yeah. So it just seems like, and again, I'm not saying we're being punished, but if we're in such a bad way out here, you would think we'd get a little more assistance and a little quicker.
Or at least an explanation.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Well, I think we should make a little noise. I mean, if we just lie down and take it.
No, I did get an email from Commissioner Shade last evening, and I responded to it. And also Mayor Morris from Cumberland did as well. He was going to craft something, I do believe, today. And I basically just said that, he obviously has our support. As Liz said a little bit earlier, that the county's been very good to us with the CARES appropriations and allowing us to help protect our citizens and protect our employees and whatnot. I certainly, that doesn't, his Commissioner Jake's request didn't fall on my deaf ears. So I know I had your all support because of some things we tried to do earlier in the summer that we'll just lay there right now. But so I'm looking to hear back from him, I'm sure, before the workday's over.
Good. Yeah. So we're going to try to lobby the governor for a piece of the vaccine pie.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe our local delegation is also working on it as well. Correct, Mayor?
They are. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's talk fish.
Yeah, so Seth Mosinger from Trout Unlimited approached the mayor and council a while back about, I don't have any document for that, a grant that would fund the design of some stream restoration between Sand Spring near the Tasty Freeze and down kind of around the Frost Avenue area. So he worked with property owners, including the city of Frostburg, for permission, and they got the grant to do the design. So I signed that landowner agreement, and they'll do the design, but they'll also do some environmental monitoring. So if and when they get the grant funds to do construction, that they can do an analysis of if they've been able to improve the brook trout population.
Okay. Good project. Very good project.
That's all I have tonight, sir.
Okay. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order here this afternoon? Liz, do we have any reminders or anything we need to remind any of us of at this point between now and next Thursday, or are we good?
There's nothing happening. Just,
That's encouraging. Thanks.
I guess, Frostburg First has a lot of, small business basket specials,
Yes, they
for
do.
gifts that they'll deliver to you. They'll put together and deliver to you. So if you're not comfortable going out and supporting your small business, they have worked with some businesses to make that happen. Some restaurants are only doing carry out right now, but I'm just going to share, I feel like this is genius. I'm going to share my Christmas gift giving motto for 2020.
All right.
I don't care if you like the gift. I shop small.
There you go.
Love it. I love it.
There you go.
But no, I've been doing that, and I've need to go a few more places yet, but I've found some really great things for my family as well as myself on those adventures. So just encourage everyone to do the same.
Yeah, I've been shopping small. I try to do it. I for the last few years, I've been really trying to shop small, but this year exclusively do local shopping. And Fred pointed out that he has a lot more of his books and items in the window, so people can like literally window shop. They don't have to go in the stores. Like, and if you like something, you can just call me and I'll bring it out to you. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, remember, those gift cards make great stocking stuffers.
Yeah, gift cards and Mindy's pop-up shop. It's got a lot of space in it, so you can feel pretty comfortable shopping in there. And Frostburg Fiber Depot has daily specials every day, like 12 days of Christmas. So there's a lot going on.
Sure. So see, Liz, there's things going on in Frostburg. Ha ha.
Yeah.
And those parking meters, those are just genius.
They are.
Yes, I actually heard a comment from someone in South Florida here very recently. Yes, that would like to have the casket from in front of the Outback. So we're making the news in a good way.
That's good.
All right. Anyone else? Are we good to go? All right, folks. See you all back next Thursday night at 7:00. Okay.
All right. I will be on time.
Oh, thank you, Nina. One more time, you get docked. You know that.